What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Commercial Real Estate Blueprint Podcast. I got an exciting guest here. We got Bob Lachance from REVA Global. He's got multiple businesses across virtual assistants, real estate. So we're excited to have him on, kind of talk about everything when it comes to that. Because as we know, when you're a commercial real estate owner, you're a busy person and you kind of need assistance sometimes. I literally hired one last night. So Bob, appreciate the time and coming on our podcast and look forward to getting into this.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. So tell us a little bit more about yourself. For those that don't know you, kind of jump into who Bob Lachance is and let's go.
Yeah, I'll give you I'll give you the Cliff Note version. So just don't bore anybody. I've been in real estate for over 20 years. First got into this business after playing pro hockey for 8 years. So if anyone's listening to this podcast, if I could do it, anyone could do it. So this is the way I look at it. You don't need you don't need a 4-year degree, an 8-year degree to jump into real estate, which is perfect, right? It doesn't matter what age you are. You could be 18, you could be 50, you could be 60, doesn't matter. There's no barrier of entry in this business. So I just wanted to, say that before we jump into this. But I started back in 2004. First deal was a fix and flip property. I had no education on real estate. I just knew that I played pro hockey for like I said, 8 years. I dropped out of college 2 classes short to get my degree. So it's either go back to school or jump into an industry that had no barrier of entry. So I did not want to go back to school because, for me, it was just nothing. It was not my passion back in the day. And then jumped in the short sale world. So I was working with banks, did, over thousands of short sale transactions where debt's too high or negotiated down or where it's a viable price as an investor. Then I started a real estate education program. So I was coaching students for years upon years. And then through that process, while I was flipping properties, while I was lending money, while I was investing in commercial properties, I realized there was a need in the market. And that need was when I was talking to my students, it was they either had too much time on their hands or they had too much money. Not too much, but it's either time or money. Those are the resources that you find. When I would get on coaching calls with them, I would give them the blueprint that we would lay out for them, and they wouldn't take advantage of it. They wouldn't do and follow that blueprint or those tasks, if you will, to show them what success looks like. Saying to myself, how come they can't do it? So I'd ask them that question. Family got in the way. Graham, they're running after their 3 kids as an example, right? Or they have to go to their soccer game. They couldn't, prospect. They couldn't lead generate. They couldn't market. They couldn't, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So all of these life challenges would come in the way. And then in 2013, I got introduced to what a virtual assistant was. I'm like, you know what? I think this is exactly what our student base needs. So 2014, I put the education program that I helped create and all the education behind it, and I married it together with virtual assistants out of the Philippines. And that's how my company, REVA Global, was invented back in 2014 under a different name. Like I said, and I use, fast forward today, I have, investments in syndications. I have single family properties, 2-family properties, et cetera, portfolio of about 30 right now. I did sell out, to be honest with you. I did sell it. Now I'm billing back up because prices were so high. I'm like, you know what? I am cashing out. I'm going to take that cash and now I'm in rebuy mode. But I use my virtual assistants as an example to lead generate, to market, to brand, et cetera. So they kind of work all hand in hand. And I have over 500 plus. I think we're over 600 right now, virtual assistants out of the Philippines. So just give you a little snapshot.
So most of what the things you were doing, you said the first one was a fix and flip, was all residential stuff, correct?
All residential, yeah. And then after that, I got into a 10 unit. It was all storefronts, rehab those, held them for 2 years. Properties appreciated. We got them all rented out and then sold them, made a couple $100,000 profit, which was pretty cool. So there's a lot of opportunities in both sides of it. A lot of the individuals, kind of funny, a lot of individuals that I would coach back in the day. I don't coach anymore. I'm just all in real estate in my virtual assistant company. But a lot of them started in residential and they got into commercial, right?
Yeah.
That's usually the natural progression where you start real estate is never where you end because there's always a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
There's almost too many opportunities. That's the thing.
I was going to say that. Yeah.
The shiny object, we all have to be careful. I mean, I'm guilty that I've been in business for, like I said, for a long time. We all have to be careful with that. I know you guys do a good job sticking with a niche, but you will also see opportunities outside that niche. So we all have to rein ourselves in. My recommendation always is start with something. You have to learn it before you actually go to something else, because we're getting hit on the internet with TikTok and Instagram with all this BS out there. Get rich quick. My advice, I just want to tell everyone, there's zero get rich quick anything in this world. I will tell you, I tried it. It didn't work. I lost a lot of money doing it. Knockdown Rebuild, Greenwich, Connecticut. Don't do that if you don't know anything about knockdown rebuild. Just throwing that out.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. I mean, the shiny object syndrome alone is something that's a hard battle for us, because even in commercial real estate, you can get lost in all the different sectors. Ooh, what about self-storage, or what about this? And it's like, in the beginning, you might not want to go, nothing in self-storage, but just like, unless self-storage is your expertise, you might not want to do that. So curious, as you've got multiple ventures and stuff, what you've kind of learned over the years of like balancing multiple things. Just for a little bit of background, I also have a glove company. So like, at what point is something just a shiny object, or is it something where, you kind of hire out the team to build everything?
Yeah, I think the model of any business is upfront. You need either money or time, no matter what it is, right? And then you start building off of that. I mean, I don't know the story of how you guys got started, but I could guess that you guys probably started in similar places. One of you had time, one of you had money. I don't know, but usually what happens is, if you start as a solopreneur, you look at what are the assets or the resources that you have. If it's more money, so I'll give you an example. When I first started, I had a little money put away. This is back in 2004 when I retired from hockey. I had a little money put away, and I said, all right, I have a runway for a year. And I have no idea where I was going. Be 100% transparent with it. I literally started real estate because I read a course. It was a like course about this thick. This is back in 2004. It didn't have free mentoring online. You didn't have YouTube. You didn't have any of this cool stuff that we have now. So literally, I just door knocked for a year straight, knowing in my mind that I have to meet people, I have to network, and not knowing where I was going to end up. And I knew I was going to end up somewhere good, but I did have a work ethic. So I had more time on my hands, and I had money. Not a lot of money, but I had a runway for a year, right? Nice. So I knew I had those, and I knew who I had to get. I had to get a mentor, and I found a mentor, and then I ended up partnering with him after a year, and then the rest takes care of itself.
Yeah, that's something we talk about a lot on the show. Is when you first start out, you have to find somebody who's going to help you and be a mentor, because you touched on several different things. One of them being, you need a mentor. The other thing is, like you said, there's so many different options out there, and you're getting hit all the time. Like even on my Instagram, you go on Instagram and it's like, get into drop shipping, or, start doing Turo with these fancy rental car, like all these different, things. And people are like, I can teach you how to get to $10,000 a month. It's like nonstop. Every single post is like somebody saying that. And like you said, it just takes time. So I think you have to experiment, not necessarily experiment, but you have to get a good idea, like go and see a couple different asset classes, look at retail, look at industrial, look at multifamily, see which one that you like and kind of whatever you jive with. Start on that path, find a mentor in it, and then focus on it. So it's like a combination of the two. You have to kind of see what you like and test everything out. But once you pick one that you like, I think I like this, stick with it for a little bit, because like you said, you have to learn it. And if you can learn a niche and get really good at it, you have a competitive advantage.
Yeah, and ask questions too. Always write down, ask questions. There's so many podcasts out there that give case studies. I remember when I first started, I can't remember the dude's name. It was Craig Garber, and he was a marketer. And he would sell a CD back in the day, but it came out every month. But I used to love it because it was all about what's given away for free on podcasts. Listen to case studies and how things were done. And I literally write down notes, and then my student or my business partner after that, he was my mentor at the time, I would come in with questions, and I would ask him questions because I had no idea. Literally, I came from a hockey locker room into business. Like, you don't learn anything in a hockey locker room. You learn to have fun, party, and drink. I could give you that, but you don't learn business in a hockey locker room. So what I learned after that is you have to take notes and ask questions. And one thing I wanted to touch upon too, because it made me think about, you get hit by all this stuff on Instagram. I personally know a lot of people that are on Instagram or TikTok, but their real life is not true. They'll be taking pictures in front of a fancy car. I know someone who literally asked one of my other buddies who had a really nice car to take a picture in front of it, and then he posted it like it was his. So a lot of this, and the only reason I'm saying that is because I know a lot of the people that listen to this may be looking to do shiny object stuff. So just be aware that do your due diligence on who you actually want to follow, because it's very, very important. I've seen a lot of stuff over 20 years. So I just want to throw that out, Graham, because you brought that up.
Yeah, I'm curious, you were in the coaching business for a while, you said.
Yep.
Do you have any tips for somebody, like, let's say they want to go out, they want to find a mentor, they want to, and maybe it's hard for them to actually find somebody who's going to give them their time for free.
Yep.
So they're like, I want to accelerate this process, I want to pay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any tips for somebody who wants to go out and find a real estate coach, like how to vet them? like you're talking about, and make sure they're legit?
I would make sure they're doing the business today. That's step one, right? Make sure they're actually doing the business, because I am huge now on education. Not when I was back in school, but on business education, I am big on it, because I know, and I've seen firsthand the transformation of individuals that actually went into our coaching program back. This is 07 to like COVID. That's when I did coaching, and I see the progression of where they're actually at now. It drastically changed their lives. So for me, coaching is extremely important. Finding a mentor, we all have to. I mean, I think, going the solo route is a way of the past, because I think, you guys obviously work great as a team. We're only as good as our team, right? Think about this. If you're looking to grow your portfolio, you need someone to find the properties. You need someone to analyze the properties. You need someone to manage the properties. You need a team to do all of these things.
Yeah. No, you touched on two very important things. One, Jesse and I have been very fortunate to buy, we started this podcast almost a year ago.
Yep.
We bought 6 total industrial buildings in the span of that year, 2 with just me and him, and then 4 with the company we work for.
Yep.
And I'll just come out and say, like, there's no way we could have done that without the help of the company we work for, because it's owned by 4 guys who are all really good, great guys, and they're mentors to us.
Yep.
And they had taken a portfolio from about, I think, 19 million or 15 million, something like that, to over $300 million in 4 years. So when I'm talking to my friends and stuff who aren't in real estate, like, you bought 6 buildings in a year? That's insane. It's like, it is insane, but we're so fortunate. The only reason we were able to do it is because we had mentors. So like, I say this all the time, and we probably sound like a squeaky broken wheel or whatever, but you have to get around people who are doing what you want to do, and you have to get around mentors who do what you do, because it's so true. It's like a cliche, but it's so true. The people you surround yourself with will change your life, literally. Because if I'm around 4 people who are like, oh, you can't go, that's impossible, you can't buy 6 buildings a year, okay, that's one thing. But if I go around another, these guys we're with, they're like, oh, 6 buildings a year, that's nothing, you should do 20.
Yep.
Like, it's just a massive mindset shift. And I used to think that way, like, oh, no way. But now my mindset is slowly evolving, like, no, this is totally possible.
Yeah.
And then the other thing too, I think one of the best pieces of advice I've ever heard, and I still use this today, is that, like, don't take advice from somebody unless they're in the position you want to be in.
Yeah.
Which is basically what you're saying. You're like, make sure they're doing the business now. Because when I first started, I would ask people about real estate investing, not to point anybody out, but I would ask, like, a residential agent, because I was at a residential firm. Like, I would ask one, I'm like, hey, what about buying this deal or buying that? And they're like, they give me their whole, hour-long opinion about it, but they didn't own a single piece of real estate. And I would actually listen to that and take it into account. But looking back, it's like, no, you shouldn't listen to anybody who isn't doing what you want to do, because they have sure, they have an opinion. And yes, you shouldn't like disregard people's opinions, but you should take it with a grain of salt.
Are you going to take advice from a millionaire that's not a millionaire on how to?
Exactly.
No.
Exactly.
I like to call it crabs in a bucket. I'm actually reading this book, Gap. Was it Gap and Gain? Is that what it's called?
I literally finished that yesterday.
The Gap in the Gain by Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy. So it's a very good book. I recommend anyone read it. And you're talking about a lot of people that are in the gap. So if people live in the gap, they're crabs in a bucket. They want to bring you down. Oh, Graham, Jesse, you guys can't do that. It's impossible. How'd you buy 6 deals in a year? You're like, and you have the other positive people. So those are the negative people. You have the positive people in your life that say, only 6 deals? How come you didn't buy 10? Come on, you could do 20 next year. But those are the people that are picking you up, not crabs in a bucket that bring you down. So, we all have to be careful who we surround ourselves with. And the biggest challenge with all of us, a lot of these crabs are family members, right? Yeah. Especially individuals that want to jump into real estate. Oh, you can't do this. You made a point talking to a residential real estate agent. Residential real estate agents don't know anything, let alone, they don't even know how to list a house. The only reason I'm saying I'm not taking shots, I'm an agent, but I use it for my investment side. But a lot of them have not had a mentor either. They just passed a test and hung their license somewhere. They don't get training. That's my point. And I'm not yucking on agents because I'm an agent. That's the reason why I could say that. I think it's very important the whole point of this is be careful who we listen to. They have to, I'm going to listen to someone who's got 100 properties. I'm not going to listen to someone who doesn't have any and say, oh no, then now is not the right time to buy. Well, guess what? Back in 2004, I get hit with that. Now is not the right time to buy. If I would have bought in 2004, I'd be worth hundreds plus $1 million. But I listened to other people. So, you know what I mean? That's really the point we have that I want to go down on.
Yeah. 2 things. One, I think that you hit it on, like, not necessarily targeting residential agents, just really any professionals in general, like attorneys, commercial agents, residential agents. You really got to be careful and vet them just in general. Like, I know a lot of investment sales, commercial brokers who are advising people on investments, and they've never bought a deal in their life. They have no idea what they're talking about. I'm like, how are you doing your client a service if you never even own a deal? And, I was in that world for a little while because I did brokerage for 5 years without owning a property. So, it's possible to do it and advise them, like, is to the best of your ability, but it just takes it to the next level when you're actually an owner. So, like, when you're looking for a residential agent, a commercial agent, an attorney, I recommend having somebody just like we're talking about, who's actually doing what you want to do. So, who owns commercial real estate.
And to get back to where you're talking about, this started with a mentor, right? If anyone's looking to get coaching or mentoring, just make sure you vet them that they're doing the business today. I think it's very, very important because stuff changes. We're in a very dynamic time. Stuff changes a lot. So talk to the individuals like yourself, right?
Yeah.
Listen to the podcasts of the individuals that are actually investing in real estate, right? And they're doing it. So that's just, I got a lot of advice, you give more advice when you get older.
Yeah. And this probably sounds, this sounds like a me just trying to plug, but our sponsor is Commercial Academy. And we were talking about Commercial Academy for a year before they sponsored our podcast. And they're another reason why we were successful, because I went to one of their events and it's a room full of real estate investors who are doing really big deals. And it's like, this isn't supposed to sound insulting, but it's just like, they're irregular people. They're regular people. They're awesome people, but they're just, your average Joe. And they're like, I just bought this building and then sold it for $1 million. And you're like, oh my gosh, that's insane. So just like going back to the mindset, it opens your eyes. So like whether it's Commercial Academy or another mentoring group or coaching or whatever, it's like, you got to get in, you have to get advice and help from somewhere.
Yeah. It's taking action, and then it's taking action in the right direction, right? We're talking a lot about teamwork. We're talking a lot about environment. We were talking about syndication before we got on the podcast. Bob, talk to us more about like what syndication looks like for those that really don't understand syndication, and then how you guys run syndication.
So I keep it pretty simple, right? So for me, I just put money. I make money in my real estate company. I make money in my virtual assistant company, and I put it into some syndication. So for instance, and I just want to break it down, and you guys will agree on this one. Before you invest in anything, also vet the operator who's actually managing it, right? And I know you guys probably talk about that all the time. But what I do is, they pool a bunch of money. I'm probably not using the right terms. Doesn't really matter. You guys could correct me for all that. But for me, syndication is when I throw money in my most recent one was I think it was a 272 unit property in Texas. Obviously, I never saw it, never vetted it, but we have an operator that's fantastic. So they came to us, hey, you got an extra $100,000 laying around? Yep, threw in $100,000. The end result is we'll pretty much double our money within a certain amount of time, right? For me, that was appealing to me because I had money that I do like taking, and you set it and forget it. But I have trust in the operator. I have trust in what that looks like in the future, right? Rents were down. They were fixing up the property so they can increase rents. It wasn't a play where, hey, I hope that the value of the property goes up. I don't like that. I want to look at, there's a value add, right? So if you have a property, let's say it's a warehouse that you guys want, right? And you look at it, you say, well, you could see that it's 10 bays, but only one bay is actually rented out. So now there's some serious upside there to buy into that property. Now all of a sudden you guys tenant all of those 10 bays as an example, and then all of a sudden the value, however the value goes up, but it's going to go up significantly. And if your exit is either rent it for cash flow, or your exit is to sell it, right? Those are both big wins there on, syndication. That's the stuff I kind of.
I like that you mentioned that you don't want to play that's just on appreciation, because it may not appreciate anything. There are definitely appreciation markets, and there's tertiary markets where you can make tons of money, make $1 million on a deal, but it's only going to be in the leases when it comes to commercial real estate. And you can't do that in residential. You can't buy a house and then flip it for $1 million just because you put somebody in it. Right. Like, it's just not, it just doesn't work that way, right? So my point is that the difference of commercial and residential, but the appreciation just doesn't, I lost my train of thought there, but
you can't value add, like commercials, commercials based on income, residential's based on comps, which is something I harp on all the time. Like prime example, we bought a duplex for $280. We've owned it for 3 years. We renovated all the stuff. It's maybe worth $330 now. So sure, it appreciated a good amount. Yeah. But commercial building, we bought a warehouse house for $250. We put a tenant in there for $3,000 a month, triple net. On an 8 cap, it's worth $425.
Right. It's different. You're right. It's just
it's insane. It's insanely different.
Yep. So you look, I mean, if you have residential individuals that listen to this podcast and they're looking to get into commercial, it's a great thing to look for in the future. You could still do your residential real estate, and then you put money away. Great opportunity to use that money to then maybe partner with you guys. I don't know if you guys do that, partner with some individuals that buy commercial. Right. But just make sure that they're buying. It's not a new person that's just saying, hey, I got an opportunity, which they never gone through coaching. They don't have mentors. Just be aware of who you invest with. How do I know? I lost money. Right. So, you live and you learn. So that's part. The operators are extremely important who you invest with.
I think that's a great point. And another thing too is like in 2020 and 2021, when things were, the market was going insane, everybody and their mom was a real estate agent and everybody and their mom was a syndicator, a multifamily syndicator more specifically. So like a lot of people got in trouble, and it's 5 years later, and a lot of those people are showing up now that they got in trouble. So like you said, a lot of people invested with those people who didn't know what they were doing because they thought they could buy it and just triple rents or whatever. But I think probably a good test, I don't really know, I haven't checked, but I think a good test now would be look at who's still around. Because if you're in the commercial real estate business and you've been doing it if you survive the last 2 years of this just like almost no transaction volume, then you're a real player, in my opinion, because a lot of people quit. There's so many agents that quit, loan officers, all these people went back, they went from being whatever it was that was based on commission and going crazy to back to their regular job because they couldn't survive because they didn't have the skill set to make it.
And you look at, I think there's an opportunity there for everybody on this call listening to this, all of us three included too. You look at, adjustable rate mortgages in the commercial world. So as soon as they reset, that's a big opportunity because sometimes, when times are good, money is very cheap. And then as soon as they reset, now it flip-flops, right? So now there's a cash call. If they can't come out of pocket to put more money back in that deal, then what happens? It goes under. So opportunity for all of us.
Yeah.
There's a ton of opportunity there. The multifamily and office space right now, I was talking to a guy that all 300,000 square foot of this office building is completely vacant. And so it's selling for pennies on the dollar. You've seen it in all these like northwestern cities, like downtown buildings that should not be trading for what they are, but they're trading literally pennies on the dollar. It's insane the opportunities that are happening. You just got to pay attention and find the right ones that you can take down.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm curious. You mentioned The Gap and the Gain. Real quick plug. I read The Gap and the Gain, Who, Not How, and 10X is Easier than 2X, all same authors, Dan Hardy and Ben Sullivan. And those are honestly like some of the most influential on my business books I've read. So I would highly recommend our listeners, if you're listening, you have a business, to read those 3 books. They're really, really good. But I'm curious, have you been writing down your 3 wins at night?
I just got to that part today on the way to the office before this podcast.
Okay, nice.
It's funny though, the way you look at it that way too. I thought that was an important part because you're setting your framework for the next day, right? You're celebrating. You're not saying, this didn't work. And then that part, they talk about the positives and the negatives. Like if you're too negative, that's the same as being extremely positive because that'll encompass you. So that part of the book had to do with talking about the 3 positives, because if you talk about the 3 negatives, it's going to beat you down. You got to talk about the 3 positives. And I'm a positive person, just like you two. So I look at things in the positive all the time because there's a lesson to learn, even if you lose money or you fail. There's always a lesson. And I think that's very important, especially, the more seasoned we all get. Nothing's easy. We're always learning every day.
Yeah. And I think it's so important too with entrepreneurs who are like, most people who's an entrepreneur, they're kind of high achievers. They want to push and they can be really hard on themselves.
Oh yeah.
Jesse and myself included will be like, dang, like, we didn't close $10 million of real estate or whatever.
Yep.
But then you look back and it's like, well, we made an offer on this and we made a serious progress on this. And it's very easy to think about the things you didn't do and like be in the gap. But if you focus on like, oh, I did actually, I got a lot of stuff done today, even though I didn't really feel like it.
The good old look back chapter.
Yeah.
We did that yesterday during our Rocks meeting. That's why he's bringing that up.
Yeah, but it's true though. But you're 100% right, because think about this. All the stuff that you do in a year, there's a lot of positives that come out of that we don't celebrate. And I'm not a big celebrator either because, it's always about, I won a national championship back in 1995. And guess what? We were thinking about what's next year look like. We had a great time. We celebrated like rock stars back in the day, but your mind is, once you actually win, you're like, what's next? What's next? High achievers, to your point. Oh, you get a building. You're like, all right, only 1 building. What's next? Let's buy 2. Let's buy 3. Yeah. And then by the end of the year, you're like, how come we didn't buy 10? We only bought 6, instead of looking back and saying, wow, we actually did a lot. And we did a fantastic job.
Yeah, 100%.
Unlock the blueprint to a 7-figure payday on your very first commercial real estate deal. Let me tell you how. J. Scott Shield, the visionary behind Commercial Academy, has condensed years of expertise into a powerful, free masterclass recording on how you can make $1 million in your first deal in commercial real estate. This is your chance to learn directly from the source, understand the principles that drive massive profits, and equip yourself with the knowledge to hit the ground running. No cost, no commitment, just pure actionable value designed to kickstart your commercial real estate success. It's incredibly simple to get started. Text Masterclass to 888-653-1199 now to claim your success. And again, text Masterclass to 888-653-1199. Discover why one deal, one time can change your life forever.
Are you ready to stop thinking about commercial real estate and actually earn money from it? Many investors wonder how to make serious money from their first deal, but the answer is here. J. Scott Shield, the founder of Commercial Academy, is revealing this strategy in his free online masterclass, how you can make $1 million from your first deal in commercial real estate. This isn't information you're going to find anywhere else for free. It's really invaluable. So don't delay for your financial breakthrough. Get the playbook that enables you to make your first million in your first deal. Text Masterclass to 888-653-1199. Again, that's 888-653-1199. Immediately for instant access. Your path to significant wealth starts now. Remember, it takes one deal, one time to change your life forever. So switching gears a little bit, you talked about you're in buy mode now.
Yep.
Are you still in buy mode as a LP? Investing in syndications, or are you buying these deals yourself and you're going to run the deals? And talk to us about what that looks like and what kind of deals you're buying right now.
Yeah, right now we're looking to buy ourselves. We are kicking around whether we buy our own office building, but I personally don't want to manage it. Like I said, I already have a couple of different businesses, so managing it is not our top priority. My business partner as well is like, you know what? We're spending a lot of money on rent. Should we buy? Our focus is 1 to 2 units right now. So we have and this is another thing we're looking to do since we do have, I think we're at 30 units now. We're looking to jump there. We just met with our accountant yesterday. He wants us to buy up to 50 by the end of the year, so another 20 by the end of this year. So we'll have 50. We're questioning whether we take it in-house or continue to work with other property managers. So that's where we're at right now in the buy mode.
Gotcha.
Nice.
I was curious about your virtual assistant business. So we talked about environmental, we talked about the environment, we talked about how you kind of like came across the problem of how trying to help residential or real estate people just in general try to get some things off their plate. How do you kind of approach a virtual assistant versus an executive assistant? And then I'm curious if you've also read the book Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell.
Yeah, I read that book. I
Yeah.
did. But the answer to your question is, so let me ask you a question before I answer that question.
Okay.
Is your executive assistant in-house or are they virtual?
Virtual.
Okay. So, and I kind of knew where that question was going. My recommendation is a virtual assistant, executive assistant are pretty much the same. So you have a virtual assistant that's labeled an executive assistant, right? That are going to do X amount of tasks. My advice is write down those tasks that you want the executive assistant or virtual assistant to do. The biggest challenge that you see is someone that says, all right, I know I need my time back, but I don't know what to outsource, right? So what they do is they give them everything. But what exactly is everything? Everything is nothing because you haven't identified it.
Right.
You can't have your executive assistant marketing, lead generating, prospecting, and doing accounting, as an example. So you want somebody, if you have someone in your office, look at us three, right? I mean, we're probably better at one thing than every. For me, you know, I'm not going to be going on social media. I have a team that does it. So this podcast, to give an example to you guys, is once this podcast is done, I send it to Nick that made the introduction, and then our virtual assistant team cuts it all up and puts it on all social media. I don't do anything. So that's important to know.
Yeah.
That is a job description that if you want a virtual assistant or an executive assistant do all of your podcast editing, that's a perfect example. You identify what those tasks are, because think about this. You guys use Riverside, right? As your software here. It's got to upload. It's got to go somewhere. It's got to get cut up, and then it's got to get out into the world, into the universe on different platforms. There's a lot of steps behind the scenes.
Oh, yeah.
That done, right? So
Yeah.
that's an example. Hopefully that helps.
No, it's definitely good. It's really like an unlock because we started the podcast while we were doing brokerage, while we were investing, and it's like a lot of things to manage at one time.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was kind of forced to automate it. So we have basically all we do now, because people are like, how do you do the podcast and all this other stuff? We're like, literally just, good virtual assistants. So as soon as we get done recording, we send the link over to our editor. He edits it, puts the file in a Google Drive. Our other social media manager assistant takes it. They upload it on YouTube. They upload it on Buzzsprout. They use ChatGPT to take the transcript from the podcast to make the description. So we've literally got every single thing dialed except for we just show up and record. So you can free up so much time by doing that, and it's not very expensive either. It's like, very reasonable.
Yeah. So you just laid out the exact process. So if anyone wants to start a podcast to then, whether it's commercial side, because you guys have a lot of residential and commercial people listening to your podcast, you just gave them the formula on how to use a virtual assistant to help them market and brand. Because branding, obviously we all know that it's very, very important. A lot of us don't I don't like sitting here and, grabbing my phone and doing videos. I don't. These for me are great because we could talk about real life stuff. We could talk about experience business and then throw it off to our virtual assistants. Then boom, it's out in the world where you're not sitting there having to create your own content. Right. Yeah. So if somebody's looking to build a brand, then just go on a show like yours or go on another show. Or you guys did a great job because you had brokerage first. Then while you were investing, you started a podcast and you're learning from, individuals like myself in a different field. So it's a great way to just get out there and get your name out there.
Yeah. Yeah. The best part about it is it's been a mini mastermind each time that we pop on a podcast and say, hey, well, selfishly, we're going through this situation right now. I think this will be beneficial for the audience. Let's ask this question, and then we're going to go and take it and use it, and then anybody else can take it and use it. We got a recording of it. We literally can go back and look at it if we wanted to ourselves, but so can anybody else. And I think that's awesome. We can share, and then through the podcast, we've been able to get into doors that we didn't think we could get into, or even in the timing that we did. And it's just amazing. It's just amazing. So
yeah, so we have that I have a Pucks to Properties podcast that we talked about. I think it was before we jumped on this call. And we use that in my real estate business to hire. We have, a handful of hockey players that we hired, and majority of them saw our podcast. So to your point too, it's a great way also to bring in visibility to what you're doing, and people want to work with you because they know that you guys are action takers as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it's been insane. We've talked about it, but it's been insane that we get probably a message at this point, every day or every other day, whether it's asking about a real estate question or maybe somebody sending us a property or, hey, I saw this podcast. Would you guys buy this deal? And just from the podcast. And we don't even have a massive audience or anything by any means. We have a good, decent amount of people, but it's not massive. So have you seen that come to light in your, with your efforts, just opportunities and things coming up?
Absolutely. And this is funny. So when I first started doing podcasts, I can't remember when it got big, but a number of years ago, I asked this individual who's a commercial podcast guy. I can't remember his name. Really good dude. But I said, why do you do it? He goes, after a year that you do it, you start getting opportunities. He said, it's marketing, and then it's a windfall because just like you said, you'll have people bringing you deals because you are the expert in the field. And it's very important. I see the same thing. So I use it for hiring and credibility. So, and I use it just in my real estate company, not my virtual assistant company, but I do have a podcast. So it's great credibility for my virtual assistant company because I do the real estate business and I have real estate trained virtual assistants. So kind of exactly what you guys are talking about. It's just stays in that ecosystem.
Yeah. When you say commercial podcast guy, you talk about commercial real estate?
Commercial real estate, yeah.
It must have been, was it Tyler Cobble?
No.
Or Henry Eisenstein?
Nope. Let me see. I
was going to say, those are the two big guys. We've had them both on the show. They're awesome.
Oh, you did? All right. I'll find the name.
No worries.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm curious of your process and how you guys take in somebody. So let's say I'm just a normal commercial broker off the street. Yep. How are you going to set me up for success with a virtual assistant?
So it all depends on what they need. Do they need marketing and branding help? Do they need prospecting help? Are you looking for listings or are you looking to buy? Right. So prospecting, of course, any one of us could buy lists to find, this happens a lot in the commercial world where you have, a list of people that own warehouses, a list of people own different industrial buildings, different storage units, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right?
Yeah.
6+ units, 12+ units. You could buy those lists. And a lot of people, a lot of business owners in the commercial world will use virtual assistant to prospect, right? So obviously picking up the phone, calling, hey, you interested in selling? You interested in selling? Blah, blah, blah. So they'll keep on that. They'll also use them to, do help with property management because, property management it's a pain in the butt sometimes, right? No. So, which you guys know, right? You got to collect rent. If someone's not paying, who's chasing them? The more doors you have, the bigger headache you have. Great opportunity, more money you have, but real estate is a headache, but everything else in the world is a headache. So it's just part of the
choose your pain kind of thing.
Yeah. It's a headache that you can make millions of dollars on.
Correct. Yeah. But think about this. There's nothing easy in life. I mean,
Yeah,
there's no
100%.
easy way to make money. Would you rather be in real estate or getting woken up at 3 a.m. and digging ditches on the side of the road, right? To do
100%.
that type of work. I know what I want to do. I want to do commercial real estate. I want to do any type of real estate rather than doing that. So, there's nothing wrong with that because some people love doing that. But my point is, for me, I would rather do real estate.
Yeah, if you're in commercial real estate and you're able to do it, full time, part time, whatever. Yeah, in my opinion, you're very fortunate because there's just nothing like it. There's nothing else that I've seen that you can buy a building, sign a lease, and create hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right. Right. Not only that, I mean, you think about it in some of the different trades, like my father was a framer, a contractor. And, when he's younger, he had a hell of a lot of energy. But when you get older, your body's beat up. Maybe you can't go up on the roof anymore. Maybe you can't, dig that pier anymore. And a lot of times, physically, when you get older, you're either going to make money or you're not. In real estate, you're always going to be making money. Of course, if you have a good renter in there, et cetera, et cetera. But you get my point. It's not subject to us physically at all.
Yeah. 100%. Like making money in your sleep, like they say.
Yeah. Or when you're doing,
But it's like you said, though, it's not easy. It's not like you can just, I just bought a building, signed a lease, and made $100,000. No, it's like you got to put in the time to find a deal. It takes a long time to find an actual good deal. Then you have to have the balls to put it under contract, put the debt together. You have to raise the money or bring the money yourself. Then you have to go through the due diligence period. You have to coordinate with all these different people. And then you have to go and lease it. Then you have to negotiate the lease terms. You have to get the lawyer involved. Then you have to sign the lease. Then you have to turn the property over to them, make sure there's nothing wrong with it, make sure the plumbing's working, the HVAC's working, make sure everything's working when you hand it over to them. There's probably going to be some kind of problem anyways. Then you have to set up how to collect rent. Then you have to make sure they actually pay rent. So it's not like it's like rocket science by any means, but it is a lot of work.
That's a value of investing in gentlemen like you guys, right? On the right operators, because you could first jump into real estate with no knowledge, but invest in a great operator and then learn, right? And that's why you're talking about the academy or whatever coaching program that is. That's why then you jump into coaching programs so you could learn it and then get a mentor. But you could still make money on the syndication side if you invest in the right operator while you learn. There also could be opportunities with, let's say you guys find a building and I have money and I want to earn while I learn. So I give you the money. You guys manage it and walk me throughout the process. There's a lot of different stuff that people that are just joining this industry can do. If you have more time or more money, those are two of the resources that we need in our businesses. So I think that's something, the way to look at it.
Yep. And two, we talked about the podcast earlier, but I had an email that I was showing Jesse, this client I had a while back on the brokerage side of things. He sent me an email saying, "Hey, I see that you've carved out a good niche for yourself in industrial. And, if you ever, I'm having trouble finding properties in my asset class. And I'm interested in getting into industrial. If you would ever, be open to partnering, I have some capital and I would like to, I'd like to put it to work and we could work something out where, you kind of walk me through your experience in industrial." That never would have happened if I hadn't posted a podcast and also posted on LinkedIn and posted on YouTube, posted all these videos, us talking over and over again about commercial real estate.
Yeah, because now you're the expert. That's the beauty of this.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And the cool thing is you're even talking to new people. I talked to a guy that I don't think Graham had talked to in a long time yesterday. And he was talking about, like we're Facebook friends. So it means we're friends. And, he was telling me about Graham's life and like the tidbits that Graham was giving. And
oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And then I hadn't told you that yet. And then I was going to tell you later. But anyways, he was talking about, you guys have bought the buildings. Like, why aren't you buying this building? And he loved my perspective. And he's like, you know what? I think this is going to be a good one. Like, send me the details. I'll take a look at it and hopefully we can put an LOI in. So I'm hoping to put an LOI in literally today as we record this episode on something like that, because they can see they have the credibility. That's how we got a hard money loan. Like, all this stuff has just come from it. So I think Graham was really great saying. He's a better saying at this, but essentially when we record and share this, we're 8xing our time on building trust, building out new networking opportunities and stuff like that. It's 8x time as opposed to just me just talking to Bob here. We're literally 8xing plus probably our time. 10x to say that, but
and you're giving away great content though. That's the thing. We're not sitting here just shooting the breeze. We're shooting the breeze, but we're talking about with the experience that we've all have had in the last 30 plus years combined, right? That's 30 years combined of content that individuals that take action can learn from.
Yeah. been taking action since I was born, because I'm 30 years old. That's why I say that. Just kidding. That's none of this is to toot our own horn, but basically what I want the audience to take away is like, you can go into real estate and you can start looking for properties. You can start talking to brokers. You can do all this stuff. But somebody early on told us this in our first episode, Rich Summers, who's got a massive audience. He's like, if you focus on the content first, everything else is easier. Everything else is easier. Yeah. So if you're listening to this, you want to get into the game, even if you don't know anything, just start taking videos of yourself talking, try to get on podcasts or whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. And they say document, don't create. Just document your journey. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Hey guys, I have no real estate right now and I'm getting into commercial real estate. Follow along as I learn what I'm learning. And then every day talk about something you learned. Yeah. And just that, like, people will people will connect with that and people will want to follow that. 100%. And like, that's the main reason we started this podcast. So if you want things to be easier, start making content now, start making a brand, put your name out there, whatever it may be, whether it's a podcast, making YouTube videos, if it's just Instagram, whatever it is. It's just like commercial real estate. It definitely will not happen overnight. Definitely not for us. We're still not massive by any means. It's a slow process, but everything else, it's worth it. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, and you got to start somewhere, right? Because a lot of times, I mean, you guys are 30, 27, 30 years old. I started when I was 30. Mm-hmm. Right. So, like we talked about at the beginning, it doesn't matter what age you are, right? You just have to start. And my advice is stop thinking about starting, because, before you know it, you're going to be 30, then you're going to be 50. And you're like, oh, I wish I started. Don't do that. Right. Because you have opportunities even on this call, right? You're always going to have opportunities in different, you just talked about, Graham, about someone that was that did a deal with you saying, all right, your niche is this, I have money. So that's the important part. If someone on this that listens to the podcast has money, call you guys. It's a no-brainer. Give you guys a call. Talk to you guys, right? Yeah. Everyone's always looking for money.
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true. One of our recent guests talked about this. He said, when you wanted to get into commercial real estate, I always tell people it takes 2 years from the day you start to actually see any money. So if you want to start today, all right, start today, but 2 years from now is when you're going to start making money. If you want to start in 2 years, okay, well, that means 4 years from now, you're going to start making money. Yeah. So it's like you're saying, don't put it off. If you're interested in getting into it, start in some way now.
Just partner with somebody, right? Mm-hmm. Get more money and time, etc. So.
Yeah. So I'm curious, if you were to go back, to your 30-year-old self, when you first started in real estate and started your journey, like if there was one piece of advice you could give somebody who's brand new, just starting out, what would you tell them?
Buy and hold. There's a lot of individuals that fix and flip, that wholesale, etc. Hey, I do that today. And the money's great. It is awesome. But when you fast forward 20 years later, you'll have a pile of money. But what you want is, you mentioned it, mailbox money. I know it's cliche, but it is actually true. It's not coming in the mailbox anymore. It's getting directly deposited in your account. Yeah. But the point is, then you don't have to worry at all. You got no worries. If you set a goal, I'll give you an example. So I always thought, right when I started real estate, what would make me feel secure is $20,000 a month coming in real estate, right? And I fast forward 20 years, I kind of chuckle, but that was a goal that I had back in the day. So if that's a goal that you have, figure out how you're going to do that. And I think that's very, very important, because, and not to mention, and this is real, time flies. So if I started back my 30-year-old self and I bought those properties, they would have appreciated and I would have no debt on them. So like I said, all that real estate would probably be worth hundreds of millions of dollars today if I got started 20 years ago.
Yeah. No, that's such a good point. We wrestle with that, and it's funny because a lot of times we'll ask guests, hey, we bought, like, a couple of the deals we bought, we did create a couple $100,000 of equity in, and that would go a long way for us now. So we're like, should we sell them? Yeah. And depending on who you ask, some are like, yes, in the beginning you got to sell, take that capital, reinvest it, and just keep building. Yep. And some people are like, no, hold it. And by the time you're 50, you're going to be, very wealthy, like you're saying. So I think it's a good point. Yeah. Our thought and strategy, just for people listening, is, we're going to try to keep as much as possible, keep and hold the good ones we really, really like. And, we're going to try to do maybe like one wholesale or some kind of commercial flip in a year. Because if you do a commercial wholesale or flip, it could be $50,000 to $100,000 or more. Yeah. And that's enough to have like a salary. So,
and Grant, let me add something to that, because there has to be a mix, because we also all have to eat. Right? You got to feed your families. You got to go on vacation with your family. So you need some earned income. Yep. Yeah. We all do, especially when we're starting out. And it's okay if you have a spouse, if you have, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever that looks like, and the other person has that job, that's okay. And if you have to look at real estate is beautiful, because you could do a fix and flip, sell it, and keep that money to live off of. Do another one, invest in commercial, right? As an example. So that's how I see a lot of residential individuals getting a commercial. They need that wholesaling and rehabbing money, and then boom, they'll have an opportunity on the commercial side. And in one important thing, that's not shiny object syndrome. That is a goal to where you want to end up. And that's means to actually get there.
Yeah. I'm curious. You talked about $20,000 a month. We had our goals meeting yesterday for, like we do EOS. So if you listen on that, you do your OX, and then you do your 1 year plan, your 3 year picture and stuff. So we're trying to figure out what's realistic. We don't want to do a goal that's mediocre and just low and set the bar low. We also don't want to shoot too high that's unrealistic. So kind of what we settled on is, from yesterday moving forward, 3 years from now, we'd like to create $10,000 of additional passive income each. So that would be $20K total. So when you said you chuckled looking back, were you meaning that that's like unrealistic, or were you like that's very realistic? Or I'm kind of curious.
No, it's all realistic, 100% realistic. Because if you do the numbers, because a lot of us when we first get started, you have partners. So if you think about it, in that one property's cash flowing, let's say $2,000. And you both own it. That's $1,000, right? Now you got to get 10 more of those properties. Hey, no big deal. Now we have a 2 year goal to get, X amount of those properties. So it's very easy to back into it if you know how much cash flow that's going to spit out.
Yeah, I think that's also part of our dilemma, though, is because some deals are like, wow, we could probably do 4,000 on this one, or we could do maybe we could get 1,000 on this one. We're trying to prove a concept right now to where we each get 1,000 with hard money, and I think it's definitely there. I think we could definitely do it. Looking forward to trying it and proving that concept, but I think our thing is we don't know exactly how many deals it's going to be, because if we syndicated every deal, let's say me and Graham want to get 5%, we probably have to do 30 plus deals to get to our goal, and that's a little intimidating. I'm not gonna lie, even with the momentum that we currently have.
Yeah, we're bootstrapping right now for sure.
Which is fine though. You start somewhere, right? That's the beauty of this business, because I back in the day, back in 2007, 2008, 2009, I've had single family individuals that I look at now, and they were exactly where you were. Now they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars per month cash flow, because this is how real estate works. It takes time. It's a compound effect. That's another book that I read that you guys, if you haven't read it, it's an awesome book. It's very, very thin. So it's an easy read, very quick read. It's called The Compound Effect. It's pretty much what we're talking about. Things compound on each other. You have, one property that's $500. And you mentioned hard money. You also, Jesse, have to think about, if you buy with hard money today and it's only, let's say, $300, $400, $500 per door cash flow, when you refi that out into financing, that $300 is going to be freaking $1,000. So it doesn't matter what you make today if you're borrowing hard money. You refi it out, because I don't know what you guys lend on, but commercial, you could charge anything you want commercial, in essence. So let's say you borrow at 12%, but then a year later you could refi at 7%, or you borrow at 15 and then you refi at 7. Boom, that's instant extra cash flow in your pocket. So that could be part of your strategy, and that's also why sometimes things take a little longer than we want.
Yeah. Well, that's literally a strategy. We're trying to do it in less than 9 months for sure. I think we're going to do it quicker. I think we're going to do it less than 6 months for sure, because we've already worked with banks and stuff. So essentially what we're going to do is borrow the hard money, get the building leased, refinance it, move forward. And I think we can do that in less than 6 months for sure. I said 9 months because that's our fail-safe kind of time, but then I think we can do it way faster than that.
Yeah, we did the other 2 and 4 months, so I'm hoping that's the case.
Yep. And then you get momentum and it just flies.
Yeah.
It's going to go off the rails after that. I'm excited.
Yeah.
So
we seriously appreciate this. If people want to hear your podcast and connect with you and, reach out, what's the best place for them to do it?
Yeah. Our podcast is Pucks to Properties. If you want to reach out to me directly, my virtual assistant company is REVA Global, REVA Global.com. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all those areas. And that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions, let me know. If you want to get on a phone with my team, cool. But, thank you, Jesse and Graham, to have me on the podcast. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
No pleasure.
Thank you guys so much. Appreciate you listening. Also, like I said before, the next Commercial Academy event is in Cleveland in August. So you got about a month if you're interested in getting into commercial real estate. It's a 3-day event and it's worth every penny. I went to it, a little over a year ago and got inspired, and we ended up buying 6 buildings. And a lot of it was from the motivation from that event and some of the stuff we learned. So highly recommend it. If you're interested in that, just check it out. We'll have a link to it, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Yeah. And we'll see you in Cleveland.
Yeah, hopefully see you in Cleveland.